Joining us now, former U.S. ambassador to the UN and Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Obviously, we'd like to get your thoughts on this news as we sort of are learning more. Not a whole lot of detail on what exactly happened here, but a U.S. soldier confirmed detained by North Korea. What is your reaction to that?
You know, unfortunately, here we go again. I mean, my heart goes out to the Warmbier family, because don't forget what happened to Otto Warmbier when they detained him. This Kim Jong-un is a tyrant. He's a thug. He's a murderer. And we have to remember that. And I negotiated one of the largest sanctions in a generation against North Korea when I was on the Security Council at the United Nations. And what I will say to Biden, if you go talk to him, I can tell you what Kim's going to want. He's going to want sanctions lifted. We cannot do it. You cannot lift sanctions. What has kept Kim Jong-un in line for the most part was that we've put the pressure on him. But we need to make sure that he knows there will be hell to pay if he hurts that soldier. And so it's troubling. It's concerning. You can't trust Kim Jong-un. You can't trust North Korea. And, you know, let China know we're watching you, because China's the one that can make a difference in this. And we'll see what they do in that process.
Certainly can. Beijing pulls all the cards in that country. Another topic, the Israeli president, Isaac Herzog, is in Washington this week. Been a lot of back and forth between progressives on the left, and this was the comment on Saturday from Congresswoman Jaya Paul about a racist state. Watch.
I want you to know that we have been fighting to make it clear that Israel is a racist state, that the Palestinian people deserve self-determination and autonomy, that the dream of a two-state solution is slipping away from us, that it does not even feel possible.
That was 4 days ago. Then came the apology, and the apology basically laid it at the feet of Benjamin Netanyahu entirely, and that she did say that she does not believe Israel is a racist nation. However, Kevin McCarthy said yesterday it's got to stop. It doesn't appear some factions of Congress will, however.
Well, you know, I think look at the fact that Biden is staying silent on this. This is not new. We remember when AOC said this was about the Benjamins. We know that when Tlaib said this was an apartheid state, we're now seeing Jayapal say it's a racist state. Don't ever forget, anti-Semitism is no less hateful than racism. And so if this was about race, everybody would be up in arms. But here you have anti-Semitism on the rise in the United States, and you've got the progressive left saying this. That I would much rather see a resolution or a bill passed that would censure the Squad every time they do this. Why do they get to say this? Why do they turn around and walk it back? And why do we forgive them for that? This is hate. They are spewing hate. They are spewing anti-Semitism. They are putting the Jewish people's lives at stake when they do spread this kind of evil. And then you're going around and you're talking about one of our best friends. But it's not a surprise when you look at Biden. Look, it took him almost 3 years to invite the prime minister to come to the United States. He's literally lifted sanctions against Iran that says death to America, death to Israel every day. I mean, they have treated our friend more like an enemy, and they treat our enemies more like friends. It doesn't make sense, and so it's no surprise that these progressives keep saying this, and it's no surprise that the Democrats are silent and Biden is silent.
All right, good to get your reaction to that. Meanwhile, John Kerry, with our Chinese counterpart, talking about climate change and the priority we should be making that over most anything else. This is quoted by the New York Times. This is not a political issue, says John Kerry to his Chinese counterpart. This is not a bilateral issue or an ideological issue. This is real life unfolding before our eyes as a consequence of the choices we make or don't make. Basically, he goes over to China and says, set aside politics. Let's tackle climate change together. At a time when the Chinese economy is already sputtering, he's telling them to do what we've done, move away from fossil fuels, engage in economic peril. At what cost are we as a country willing to continue to push this green agenda and now telling other countries to follow suit? It's a remarkable moment.
Sandra, it's pathetic. It's literally pathetic. You have China, who has literally been preparing for war with us for years. And look at the infiltration, whether it's them buying U.S. soil next to military bases, whether it's the fact that they have a Chinese spy balloon going over us, whether it's the fact that they're infiltrating our universities, whether it's the fact that they actually have Chinese front companies lobbying Congress, whether it's the fact that they're stealing $600 billion worth of intellectual property from us every year, or putting a spy center right off our coast in Cuba, or look how they're building up their military. And he wants to talk about green energy. I mean, the priorities of the Biden administration are so off base. And John Kerry's like the poster child for it, at how our priorities are not where they need to be. This is a country that is trying to destroy the West. This is a country where President Xi has said that he wants to change what is said in the Bible to say that we have to reduce the amount of Western leadership that is in the world. It's disgusting, and it's just off base. It's why our enemies are laughing at us. It's why America looks so weak, and it's why we need a new president to make sure that we take these tyrants on and let them know their place.
Time when China builds a new coal plant every 2 weeks. Pretty remarkable. There is more breaking news. I want to get your reaction to this. Within the past 30 minutes, former President Donald Trump announced that he has been notified as of Sunday night that he says he is the target of an indictment as it relates to January 6th. Your reaction to that, and how does that affect the race? Because you have qualified for the first debate. How does this indictment affect his candidacy?
It's going to keep on going. I mean, the rest of this primary election is going to be, in reference to Trump, is going to be about lawsuits. It's going to be about legal fees. It's going to be about judges. And it's just going to continue to be a further and further distraction. And that's why I am running, is because we need a new generational leader. We can't keep dealing with this drama. We can't keep dealing with the negativity. We can't keep dealing with all of this. We've got China that's literally trying to be at war with us. You've got Iran building a bomb. You've got North Korea detaining a soldier and testing ballistic missiles. We need to focus on the debt and the lack of transparency in schools and crime and the craziness on the border. We can't be sitting there focused on lawsuits over and over again. And so, when it comes to the debate, what I'll say is, we can't complain about Biden not debating RFK if Trump is not going to get on the debate stage and stand next to us. I have never known him to be scared of anything. I certainly don't expect him to be scared of the debate stage. And so I think he'll have to get on there and he'll have to talk about these lawsuits and how we're going to get past it.
Sorry, you're suggesting he's not going to be there?
He has said he's not going to be there. I know that he's not scared of a debate stage, so I would fully expect him to be there.
Okay,
and I think the Republicans should expect him to be there.
Let me pause you right there. Here he is with Maria on that exact question this past Sunday. Watch.
Are you participating in the upcoming debate?
Well, it's a quite an easy question normally. Ronald Reagan didn't do it, and a lot of other people didn't do it. When you have a big lead, you don't do it. And so you're leading people by 50 and 60 points, and you say, why would you be doing a debate? It's actually not fair. Why would you let somebody that's at 0 or at 1 or 2 or 3, be popping you with questions?
What about that?
Well, you do it because you want to serve the American people. You don't show that you're serving the American people by being absent. You show that you want to serve the American people by showing up. It's the same issue with Biden not debating RFK. If you are going to serve the people, you have to show up and tell them why you're the person to do it. I look forward to being on that debate stage. I look forward to talking about how we're going to make America strong and proud again. And I think that he should be on that debate stage. Again, I've never known him to be scared of anything. I'd be shocked if he was scared of the debate stage. But we'll see what happens.
One quick follow-up to that, Ambassador. Do you believe it helps or hurts you and the other candidates if he does stay off that stage?
Oh, I welcome him on the debate stage. The American people need to see what their options are. They need to see the full slate of options that they are going to be choosing from. So I want him on that debate stage. I think the American people want him on the debate stage. And I'll tell you, keep going to NikkiHaley.com. We're excited. We're ready to keep pushing forward. We're looking for the debate in August. And, I hope that he'll be on there along with everybody else that's running.
Okay. All right. We'll speak before then. All right. There it is. 5 weeks and 1 day on the screen. August 23rd. Nikki Haley, thank you for your time.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.